people on the ground below watching me, my audience. And even though this is something a wire walker should never do, I look down.
One fine day, three friends happened to chance upon a video clip regarding tightrope walking on YouTube.
Wow! Hey, do you feel inspired?
Yes! When I grow up, I want to be like him.
Yes, I also want.
Hey, want try? Try why not?
Oh, Dr. Tommy House got tightrope eh. Damn tight one. You all free tomorrow?
Okay.
They were fascinated and wanted to give it a try. They went on to try the tightrope at Tommy's place. Deemed as a stepping stone, the three friends aimed to be like Philip Heath one day. They began to try, and to their surprise, the task was way harder than expected, and they were actually really bad at it.
Hey, why we so lousy ah?
They began to ponder why they had such a bad performance. Hence, they resorted to learning through YouTube tutorials to improve their performance.
Seems pretty easy. It's just a tiny bridge between skyscrapers, but it's actually pretty hard. Luckily, we've got Sonia Harpstead from Circus Warehouse to teach us how to walk a tight wire. Finding you to stay interesting.
Oh! Want to try something new? Tommy Senpai got take this practice simplification. We can use it.
Steady.
By using different platforms to practice, it is a type of practicing technique known as practice simplification. When the three friends adopted different platforms to doing the same skill, what they are doing is actually simplifying the same movement task. When they are doing the practice on a low bench, it forces them to concentrate on balance and precision. On the other hand, when they are doing it on the balance beam, it trains the individual to learn how to adapt to different heights and the inverted bench attempts to mimic the actual tightrope without the elements on being in balance. This sequencing of task progression will facilitate motor learning of being able to balance and walk on the tightrope. By using practice simplification using the weight rope for tightrope walk, it helps to reduce lateral rotation, which prevents instability, reducing the issue of balance to make the task more simple. They began to use different platforms that were simpler to perform the same task of walking straight over a distance, and evidently, their skills improved.
We all did something different and our skills level up.
Yup, I think Dr. Tommy got teach before that. It's called practice simplification, right?
Hey, why not we try something else? Maybe we'll improve more?
Oh, Dr. Tommy got teach another theory. Is it frac what ah?
Fractionalization 啦 you all 没有听课 one.
Wow, okay.
Holy shit!
To make things less complicated, the tightrope movement can be fractionalized into three parts, namely walking, balancing with one leg, and balancing with two legs. Practice fractionalization is another strategy adopted by the three friends, where they fractionalize the skill of walking across the tightrope to balancing on the tightrope, followed by balancing single-legged on the tightrope and walking on the tightrope. Furthermore, they also practice specificity, conducting practices and tests in the same environment. The specificity of practice hypothesis suggests that learning is most effective when practice sessions include environmental and movement conditions which closely resemble those required during performance of the task, replicating the target skill level and context for performance. With our practice and test environment being similar, they ensure a greater amount of transfer of learning and performance from training to our pre-post test. After 5 weeks of 1 hour practice, they done a post-test to examine their results. Generally, our graph shows an increasing trend which signifies an improvement in the performance of our participants over 5 weeks. Both Lynn and Jun Hao display a significant increase in performance with percentages of 707 and 496% respectively. Jack, on the other hand, has a smaller increase of 246%. There is a decrease in performance for Jack as shown in the yellow line from week 4 to 5 during the post-test. This is due to alcohol consumption prior to testing, which resulted in an uncoordinated muscle movement of Jack. Walking on tightrope is a closed-loop activity where feedback such as imbalance on the tightrope will result in the performer to slow down or prop their limbs in a particular manner to retain balance. It requires body, head and limb coordination to perform the task well. In order to perform a well-coordinated movement, our nervous system has to solve the degree of freedom problem. The joints and muscles group used and highly prone to the degree of freedom problem are namely the shoulders, elbow, knee, hip joint, with these anatomical terms of movement. The two theories aim to solve this problem are namely the SCHIDMT theory and dynamical system theory. SCHIDMT hypothesizes that all knowledge is organized into units. When we learn how to walk on the tightrope, the movement involves our generalized motor program of walking, also known as GMP. GMP is a memory representation of a class of actions. Our brain incorporates movement-specific parameters to produce specific motor outcomes to enable us to walk and balance on the tightrope. With practices over 5 weeks on the tightrope, our brain abstracts important information from past experiences and combines them into a type of rule, also known as schema. These rules govern our movement and explains how they raise their hand on the opposite side when they are about to fall in order to regain balance. On the other hand, we have the dynamical system theory. It uses the interaction between the performer, task, and the environment to explain the performance movement and central to the DST, which is stability. After training using the tightrope for 5 weeks, they have learned to spontaneously adjust themselves to a new stable state while performing the tightrope in comparison to their first encounter with the tightrope. The task on hand is to walk across the tightrope without losing balance, with the distance covered over 30 seconds as a quantifiable target. The possible constraints of the task include rope tightness, which could be potentially unstable and reduce speed as compared to normal walking. Duration and requirements of the task where we limit participants to only 30 seconds of attempt, and the height of the rope above ground, which may pose as a threat for injury. For the individual factor, one of our members had some alcohol the night prior the post-test. As alcohol affects the cerebellum, muscle movement becomes uncoordinated since the cerebellum controls fine movement. Hence, drinking alcohol the night before our post-test actually affects her perception-action coupling. For the environmental factor, even though we utilize practice specificity, there were instances where Dr. Tommy and friends came to look at our progress, which adversely affected our capability to perform the task. This resulted in a form of stress exertion and distraction, which inevitably affected focus and hence performance of the participants. Hence, individual tasks and environmental factors interact to give rise to motor learning and outcome during practice and tests. We compress degrees of freedom through self-organizations with the cooperation of various subsystems. Seeing the improvement they have made over 5 weeks, they are all geared up for greater challenges using the tightrope.
Yes! We did it!